In this video, I'll be talking about some YouTube ads, campaign settings, best practices, specifically for webinar ads. If you are running YouTube ads to a webinar, this is an episode you don't want to miss. My name is Kyle Sullerud. I'm the founder of AdLeg, a marketing agency specializing in running YouTube ads to webinars. And you're in luck because today I'm going to be specifically talking about YouTube ads to webinars and some best practices you can implement in your general campaign settings. Now, I've previously made a video called YouTube Ads 8 Money Saving Tips. I talk a lot about settings in that video, and I didn't want to repeat myself in this video. So after you watch this video, go and watch that other video, the 8 money saving tips video, because you're going to get some additional pointers, and all of those tips also apply to YouTube ads for webinars. The first thing I want to talk about is general campaign structure. The way I do it and the way I recommend you do it is to create multiple campaigns based on the type of targeting and the details of the targeting. So when you're setting up your campaigns and researching your targeting, you should have keywords and placements and audiences, topics, custom audiences, all these different options. These should all go in different campaigns. Not only that, but I also split apart and segment within the targeting options. So if I have a couple hundred different keywords, those won't all go into the same campaign. Instead, I will have several keyword campaigns. Each of those campaigns will have a group of keywords, a smaller group of keywords, all closely related in their meaning or in their intent. And I do the same thing with placements, with audiences. Some of the accounts that I run have over 100 campaigns. Now, let me explain why this is so important. First, it lets you really quickly identify what is working and what isn't working. You may have a group of keywords that you've put in a campaign that is performing really well, and in another keyword campaign, those keywords aren't doing so well. So you can quickly take some action and remove the campaign that is not working well and start focusing on your campaigns that are working well. And because the budget is set per campaign, now you can start increasing the budget on campaigns that are performing well, turning off campaigns that aren't performing well, or maybe if a campaign is doing so-so, you give it some more time. You don't increase the budget yet, you don't turn it off. And because you have all these different campaigns, you have the freedom to do that. If you had all of your keywords in one campaign, you would only have one budget to deal with. And all you'd be able to do would be to turn off specific keywords. Much less flexibility that way. Another thing this type of setup helps with is the fact that the amount of traffic that Google is going to send to you for specific keywords or certain audiences is going to change. You may have a keyword that has gotten tons of traffic in the past, and then something changes in the system and suddenly you're hardly getting any traffic for that keyword. If you have all of your keywords in one campaign, what can happen here is when that one keyword stops getting all that traffic, a different keyword will come up and start to replace it. And this can be really bad if the keyword that's coming up isn't performing as well as the keyword that slowed down. And if this happens in a campaign that's spending $500, $1,000 a day, the results can really be disastrous. This especially happens with custom audiences. If you've ever tracked the size of a custom audience over time, you would know that the size of these audiences changes dramatically day to day. And my team has even tracked this within a day. The size of a custom audiences fluctuates greatly. So what can happen is you have a custom audience that's doing well, it's getting a ton of traffic, and then something changes in the system that causes that audience to shrink. If you have that audience in its own campaign, it's not a big deal. It'll likely just start spending less of the budget than it was spending. But if you have that audience in a campaign with a number of other audiences, what can happen is when one audience shrinks, the traffic starts going to a different audience. And again, the new audience that starts getting the traffic may not be performing as well, and suddenly you can blow through a lot of budget with much worse results than you had previously been getting. Splitting your targeting across a lot of different campaigns helps prevent this, because instead of a few campaigns with a really large budget, you're going to have lots of campaigns, each of them with a much smaller budget. My next key point on campaign structure is within these campaigns to use different ad groups targeting different devices. So you have one ad group for computers, one ad group for mobile, and one ad group for tablet. Each of these ad groups can have the same exact targeting, the same exact ads. The only difference is the device that's being targeted. And the reason for this is we are mainly optimizing these campaigns for lead generation. Eventually, we'll want to optimize them for sales, and most likely, the sales from each type of device is going to be different. You will likely get more sales from your computer leads than you will get from your mobile leads. Therefore, you don't want to pay the same amount for a mobile lead as you would for a computer lead. The only way to do this is by bidding differently for computers than you're bidding for mobile. And the only way to do that is by putting these devices in their own ad groups. Going off of that, the next best practice I want to talk about is to use target CPA bidding. Google's artificial intelligence is great as long as you're feeding it good information, you have good targeting, good ads, a good offer, a good campaign structure. Google's artificial intelligence is going to help you. And the best way it's going to help you is by using target CPA bidding, even in a brand new campaign with no conversion data yet. I still use target CPA bidding. It may take a few days or sometimes even longer for things to kind of work themselves out and for you to start getting traffic if you're starting directly with target CPA. But once the algorithm kicks in, things start working beautifully. The other type of automated bidding is maximize conversions. And I see a lot of people using this. I don't like it because of what I just talked about regarding device bidding. If you're using maximize conversions, Google doesn't care if it's generating a lead from mobile or computer or tablet. It's just going to try to generate the most leads that it can. But again, we don't want that. We want to be able to pay differently for leads from each device. The way to do that is to use target CPA bidding. Now, I said even in a brand new account that I'm starting with target CPA bidding. The one exception to this would be placement campaigns. Sometimes it can take a long time for placement campaigns to really kick in if you're only using target CPA bidding. Because of how well placement targeting works, it is a viable option to use cost per view bidding in placement campaigns, especially in a brand new account. Eventually though, you're going to want to run your placements with target CPA bidding. In the long run, target CPA is always going to produce better results than cost per view. Let's move on. The next thing I want to recommend is that you set specific conversion actions to be used in each of your campaigns. By default, a campaign is going to set up to use all of your conversions. So if you have an opt-in conversion, a webinar view conversion, application conversion, a call booking conversion, all of these things are then going to be added together, and Google is going to optimize for the total number of conversions that are coming in. I've even seen accounts where there were 2 different opt-in conversion codes generated and installed, and it was basically double counting every conversion that was coming in. It's fine to set up all these conversions. It's great to get as much data as possible, but you need to tell Google which conversions you want to optimize for in your campaign. And you set this up in your campaigns and you tell Google the specific conversions that you want to count in that campaign. This way you aren't accidentally counting the same people too many times as a conversion, and it just gives the system better data to use to reach your goals. The way that I normally set this up for YouTube ads to webinars that sell high-ticket coaching is I would count the opt-in conversion, the application conversion, and the purchase conversion. If I'm running YouTube ads to a webinar that sells a course, then I would count the opt-in conversion and the purchase conversion. And yes, that does mean people are going to be counted multiple times, but only if they're taking higher value actions. If they are filling out an application, if they are making a purchase, that's a much higher quality conversion. So I'm perfectly fine with those people getting counted as multiple conversions in that campaign. The next best practice I want to tell you about is a method that I came up with of using different conversion attribution models for different types of campaigns. Let me explain. When you're setting up your conversion actions, you can choose from a variety of different attribution models. The two that I'm going to talk about here are first click and last click. Let's say a customer clicked on your cold traffic lead generation ad. They watched your webinar and they didn't buy right away. Later, they saw your retargeting ad, clicked on it, and made a purchase. Which campaign is going to receive credit for that purchase? Well, if the conversion action is set to first click attribution, then the cold lead generation campaign is going to get credit because that was the first thing the user clicked on. If the conversion action is set to last click attribution, then the retargeting campaign is going to get credit for that sale because that was the last thing the user clicked on. When I'm optimizing a cold traffic lead generation campaign, I want to be optimizing for first click because that's the goal of a campaign like that, is to get someone to click on your ad and take action for the first time. On the other hand, if I'm optimizing a retargeting campaign, I want to be optimizing for last click because that's the goal of a retargeting campaign, is to get someone to click the ad and take that final action. Therefore, in order to make this work out how I want it to, what I do is set up two different conversion actions for these higher level actions. Anything that I'm running retargeting for, so applications or purchases, there's going to be one regular conversion action set to first click, and that is the action that gets defined in the cold lead generation campaign. And then there's going to be a second conversion action set to last click, and that is going to be the action that's used in the retargeting campaign. Both of these conversion actions are going to be installed in the same place. They're going to be tracking the same thing, but they're going to be utilized in different campaigns depending on the goal of the campaign. All right, a couple more things for you. You want to exclude people from a campaign if they've already taken the action that the campaign is promoting. For example, if you are running cold traffic ads to a webinar opt-in, you want to define an audience of people who have already opted in for that webinar, and then you want to exclude those people from your campaign. And if you're running different funnels, let's say you have one funnel for your Facebook ads, a different funnel for your YouTube ads, you want to make sure that your tracking codes are on all of your funnels. So if someone has already opted into your webinar through a Facebook ad, that person should be excluded from your YouTube ads, just like you'd want to exclude people who opted in through a YouTube ad. The last suggestion I have for you is to pay attention to your frequency cap. This is a campaign setting that basically limits the number of times people can see your ad. You can limit impressions, meaning maybe they saw your ad, maybe they watched it, or maybe they skipped it. Or you can limit views, meaning they did watch at least 30 seconds of your ad. The way I usually set this up is to limit to 4 to 5 impressions per day and 1 to 2 views per day. This is per ad. So if you have a lot of different ads in your campaigns, you can set this a lot lower, maybe only 1 view per day. If you only have a couple different ads, then you'd maybe want to allow 2 or even 3 views per day. Google's system actually does a pretty good job of not showing your ad too many times to people who aren't going to actually take action, but it's good to keep Google in check with these frequency caps to make sure that the same person isn't seeing your ad a ridiculous number of times. And hey, if you want to see me a ridiculous number of times, be sure to subscribe and also hit the like button, and that will train YouTube's algorithm to recommend more and more of my videos to you so you can start to see me over and over and over and over. And if you have a webinar and you're already running YouTube ads to it, and maybe it's not working out so well, or you'd like to start running YouTube ads to it, then check out the link in the description, because this is exactly what my company does. We run YouTube ads to webinars, and we can take a look at what you're doing and see if it's something that we can help with. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you learned a lot. If you did, please comment below, tell me what you thought, and I will see you in the next video.